Yeah, y'all gonna stop coming in my live talking about this Victor dude, bro. We hooping this year. Y'all gonna see.
Alright team, with it being around the middle of the season, I think we are 1 or 2 games off it being game number 42. I think it is only right for us to do a mid-season check-in and grade our players based off the season they're having so far. And if you've been on the channel for a little while, you will know that tier lists are one of my favorite videos to make, and that is because not only do I get to share my opinion with y'all, but y'all get to share y'all's opinion with me. And so y'all go ahead and leave y'all's list down below in the comment section. I'll be going through those, interacting with y'all, and maybe we could talk some Spurs basketball. But without wasting too much time, let's go ahead and jump into our first ranking. We're starting off with Julian Champagnie, so let's get straight to it. Julian so far is averaging 12 points per game. Yes, we're going to round up for our boy. 4.5 rebounds, 1.3 assists on 42% field goal percentage, 37.3 three-point percentage. Julian is one of the very few three-point specialists we have on the squad, and I love his 3-and-D potential that he brings to the team. He reminds me of Danny Green. Not to mention he's only 23 years old, so I do think he can grow with this core. And with this season, I think he's really solidified himself as a part of this team. You know, last season he played pretty good, but we didn't know if he was going to stay or not. I believe with Harrison Barnes coming to the team, he had to waive his trade kicker, which is an increase in salary when a player gets traded to another team. With Harrison Barnes waiving that, we were able to keep Julian Champagnie, which is a key part of the season because Julian Champagnie brings some very much needed shooting. And so with all the praise we're giving him, I think he has earned himself a S tier for this season so far. Next up, Malachi Branham. Now this one might be self-explanatory. I'm going to go ahead and put him at D. I did not expect him to get this many DMPs so far. I think some of that has to do with Mitch Johnson. It's not all of his fault, but then again, he has got played out of the rotation, and no doubt this is the worst season of his career so far. Many tend to think he's going to get traded, myself included, and so we're going to go ahead and put him down at the D tier. Next, Blake Wesley, and although he has been played out of the rotation as well, I do think Blake Wesley does deserve a little bit more minutes than Malachi Branham. I think he works hard on the defensive end and can bring that spark. And so I think Mitch Johnson can sub in Blake Wesley for a short amount of time. Whenever the Spurs are getting out hustled or they're just not bringing the right type of energy, I think Blake Wesley can get in and bring some of that spark. With that being said, he hasn't played much, so I'm going to go ahead and give him a C tier. But I still think he does have a spot on the team. Next up is Keldon Johnson. Now let's go ahead and take a look at his stats. So he's averaging 12.6, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists per game, shooting 28% from 3. And this is something I want to talk about a little bit later on in the video. A couple of the guys just haven't been shooting good, and I don't want to criticize Jimmy Barron because I don't know what he does in the practice facility. I'm not there at all, but I just really miss Chip England. You see what he's doing out there in OKC. Those guys are over there shooting the heck out of the ball, and so it just makes me wonder what Chip could have done over here, but we're going to get into this a little bit later. But with Keldon Johnson, I'm kind of stuck between A or B. I know some of the things that I have frustrations with is his defense and his IQ at times, and obviously these things aren't intentional. I think at this point, this is just the player that he is. I've been loving his energy. I've been loving the way he's driving the basketball. He's even making some more passes. You know, even though that shot isn't falling, I'm going to give Keldon Johnson an A tier so far. He hasn't really stuck out as much as he used to, but there are still some things to clean up, especially on the defensive end and especially with the jump shooting. 28% is abysmal. He needs to get that up. I don't know if it's going to come up, but all you can really do is hope. And so if y'all have him either in the B or A area, I'm not going to argue with y'all. To me, it's really too close, and since I like Keldon Johnson so far, I'm going to give him the nod up to A. But like I said, I can see you putting him at B. Charles Bassey. I'm going to go ahead and throw Charles Bassey at B tier. Now, I have seen some things with him that do stick out, like Zach Collins on defense. I think Bassey is more of a third string center. Like I've said repeatedly on the channel, get the backup big man ASAP. But for Bassey being a third stringer, I think he does a pretty good job at times. You saw him on Anthony Davis. There really wasn't much he can do, but he wasn't making stupid mistakes like fouling, letting him get the and one. Yes, Anthony Davis was scoring on him, but he scores on a majority of players in the league. So although I don't think Bassey is the long-term backup center for the Spurs, I am going to give him a B tier because I think he does a good job being that spark off the bench whenever we need him. Next up, we have our GOAT, the alien, none other than Victor Wembanyama, and it would just be stupid to put him at anything else but a S tier. The season he's having, I think he was about 5th on the MVP ladder before he had this rough stretch. Overall, in January, he's just had a rough month so far, and this video is going to be up after the second Grizzly game. So I don't know how he performed. I could look stupid after he drops 50 or something, but he's just been struggling so far. Looking at his stats so far, 25 rounded up, 10.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists, shooting 35% from three-point range, which is an improvement from last season, as well as the free throw percentage. And I don't really have to say much about why I'm giving him S tier. If y'all are on the channel, y'all know why. He's the alien. So let's just go ahead and move on. On to Zach Collins. He's had a solid first half. I think we're going to have to give him B tier. Alright guys, all trolling aside, we're giving Zach Collins D tier. I'm not going to go in and slander him because talking about Zach Collins really raises my blood pressure and it just stresses me out. I don't want to lose it on the camera today, so we're just going to go ahead and put him at D tier. Same things as last season. Really, just the defensive IQ is what bothers me. And even when he gets out of position, he just doesn't make smart fouls. He gets beat and then ends up giving up an and one or something. In a combination with the jump shot just not falling, I think Zach Collins has lost all confidence, and really there's no recovering from this. I think maybe he can be an NBA player. It's just gonna have to be somewhere else after he gets shipped off. But that's really all I got for Zach Collins today. On to Harrison Barnes. I have been impressed with Harrison Barnes this season. Really, he met my expectations. He's doing everything I thought he would do. He's helped us close out many of games. He spread knowledge to the young players. And there are games where he can go ballistic and give you like a 20 bomb or something. He even helped us close out the Lakers game in the fourth quarter where they were just continuously giving Harrison Barnes the ball in the post area. And he was just going to work, drawing fouls, getting buckets, doing whatever he wanted. And this is a solid vet. This is the type of player the Spurs have needed for a while now. I know we've had players like Doug McDermott or Devontae Graham, but this is another level type of vet. This is a solid player who can still play the game while teaching your young players how to win. He doesn't really get in the way. He doesn't do anything that makes you question why he's on the team or anything like that. And so I'm gonna go ahead and give Harrison Barnes a S tier as well. Now this doesn't mean Harrison Barnes is as good as Wemby. We are comparing them to their expectations and what we thought they were going to be doing coming into the season. But on to Stephon Castle. Now looking at his numbers, I think I predicted something around this stat line. You'd have to go back and check another video. I know we've done it, but I'm not too sure what I predicted. Somewhat along these lines, we expected the three-point shot to be a work in progress. Free throws, 70%, not bad, but I think it could be a little bit better. Overall, I think these things are going to improve. He showed a lot of promise, especially in that starting lineup. I think he's averaging around 14 points per game as a starter compared to 7 coming off the bench. And so it's a little tricky right now not knowing who to start because we do have a solid 6 to 7 players that can start for us. But that's not a bad problem to have. I think if anything, that's pretty good. And so with him being a 20-year-old rookie coming out of a weak draft class, I think he does have all-star potential. And so if this jump shot does come around in the second half of the season, I am going to move him up. But for right now, I'm going to have him at A. Trey Jones having a really down season. We did make that video about him a couple of days ago, sending him off in a trade package. I'll say it again, he's not a bad player. I just don't think he's going to have as much impact in the Wemby era as some may have thought in the beginning. He's averaging around 3 points per game in 16 minutes. And I think some of the things that Trey Jones does, you can get from other players. He doesn't really bring anything special. Honestly, if I had to pick between Blake Wesley or Trey Jones, I would go Blake Wesley just because of the defense. And I think his playmaking skills can grow into something that Trey Jones has right now. But when Trey's on the court, he's not really a liability, but he's not doing anything that really excites me or impresses me at all. Still hasn't been a good three-point shooter. I think he's shooting around 26-27% from 3. And so we're going to go ahead and throw him down at the C tier as well. Jeremy Sochan, taking a look at his stats, 13.4 career high, 8 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 1 steal per game. I think these 8 rebounds are a career high as well, and he's still only 21 years old. You got to think about this. He's only a year older than Stephon Castle, who's a rookie, and Sochan has 3 years of experience. I think Sochan has had a tremendous season. Again, his three-point shots just not there, but he's really not taking a lot of three-point shots, so that's not a part of his game that we're looking for. He's more of a connector piece, and I think he's been doing a really good job at that. So he's only played 22 out of 42 games, and so that's where I'm gonna have to lower Sochan. Although I think he has had a great season, career season for him, we're gonna have to put him at A because of the availability. Some people may be mad, but for me that is something I value, and you gotta be available. Now I don't think he's injury prone, but just for this this season, the first half of this season, we're going to have to put him at A. But on to the next one. Young Devo. Devin Vassell's played about the same amount of games as Jeremy Sochan, and he's also having a down year so far, only averaging 16 points per game, 4 rebounds and 3 assists. 1.3 steals is pretty good, but even the efficiency isn't as good as I want it to be, because we do have some more weapons around us, and I think that should open up a little bit more shots for Devin Vassell. Now, I don't think he's going to play this bad the second half of the season. Not to say he's playing bad, but he's not playing up to Devin Vassell standards. So for the first half of the season, I am going to give him a B tier. I don't think Mamu has played nothing but a couple of minutes this season, so I don't really even know how to rank him. I love Mamu, but I'm going to have to put you down at D tier, my boy. I'm sorry Mitch Johnson's not giving you no burn. If it was up to me, I would throw you out there for a little bit of shooting. I think he could be a backup 4. Technically, we don't really have a backup 4, so I don't see why Mamu doesn't get some burn. We're not there in the practices, so we're just going to throw him at D tier. And last but not least, the point guard, Uncle Chris. If your name is Chris, shout out. Dang, he's actually averaging 10 points on the regular season. I thought he'd be averaging around like 7 or 6. He doesn't score a lot, but that's pretty impressive. Almost a near double-double as a 40-year-old player. 39 games played. I don't think he's missed a game, and he's almost 40 years old, so I'm putting him at S tier. Pretty self-explanatory. The point guard has done everything we've expected him to do. I know he's said this many of times, but he's helping the Spurs win and learn at the same time. And although I knew Chris Paul had some gas left in the tank, I didn't know he was this impactful. The net rating with Wemby and CP3 on the court together is pretty insane. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I know they are a far better team with those two players on the court at the same time. Their connection has grown pretty quickly. Although we're not seeing as many lobs as we thought, we are seeing Chris Paul dime up Wemby. Whether it's on the pick and pop or just a smart inbounds pass, Chris Paul is getting the ball to Wemby, and that's what we got him here for. I think while Chris Paul's been on the Spurs, his value has increased significantly, but I don't think you use that to trade him. I think you could even bring him back next season and run him off the bench if he's open to it. So with that being said, here is my list. Let me know down below in the comment section whether you agree or disagree, and like I said before, y'all leave y'all's list down below in the comment section so I can interact with y'all and see what y'all thoughts are, because although this is my list, I do have an open mind and I can see where y'all are coming from if y'all have some different players in different spots. With that being said, y'all be sure to leave a like, subscribe as always, and until then, I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.